The galaxy had known peace for 300 years. The five great empires divided the stars among themselves like children sharing a pie. The Dominion controlled the core worlds with their massive fleets. The Collective spread across the eastern spiral with their hive mind ships. The Republic guarded the resource-rich nebulas with ancient weapons. The Kingdom ruled the outer rim with fear and brutal force. The Alliance held the trade routes with their economic power. These five empires had one thing in common. They all remembered the humans. 2 centuries ago, humanity had been a young species. They had just discovered faster-than-light travel. They sent messages of peace to every corner of the galaxy. They wanted friendship. They wanted trade. They wanted to learn from the older civilizations. The five empires laughed at them. Humans were small. Their ships were primitive. Their weapons were weak. Their bodies were fragile compared to the armored scales of the regenerating flesh of the. The empires saw only one use for humanity: slaves. The great harvest began without warning. 1,000 warships descended upon Earth. They sent their drone swarms to capture human colonies on Mars and Europa. They burned the lunar bases and took survivors as workers for their mining operations. They raided the outer settlements for entertainment slaves. They simply bought whatever humans remained from the other empires. In one terrible year, humanity was scattered across the galaxy. Families were torn apart. Children were sold to different masters. The human was stripped of resources and left as a dead rock floating in space. The empires believed they had ended humanity forever. They were wrong. Admiral Wei stood on the bridge of the Vengeance. She was old now, but her eyes burned with the same fire she had carried since childhood. She had been born in a slave camp. She had watched her mother die in the acid mines. She had seen her father executed for stealing bread. She had escaped at 16 and spent 50 years building what now floated in the darkness between stars. The Vengeance was not just a ship. It was a city. It was a fortress. It was the last hope of humanity condensed into 10 kilometers of metal and fury. For 200 years, escaped humans had been gathering in the void. They built in secret. They learned from their masters. They stole technology and improved it. They recruited every human who could escape bondage. And they waited. The ship hummed with power that the galaxy had never seen. Human engineers had combined shield technology with organic computers. They had merged weapon systems with stealth fields. They had taken the best from every empire and created something new, something terrifying. Wei looked at her crew. 10,000 humans worked on this ship. Each one had a story of loss. Each one had a reason for revenge, but she had taught them patience. Revenge without planning was just suicide. They needed the perfect moment. That moment had finally arrived. The Galactic Summit happened every 50 years. Representatives from all 5 empires gathered at Prime to discuss trade and territories. Every major leader attended. Every important ship was present. The 5 fleets surrounded the planet in a display of power and arrogance. No one noticed the empty patch of space that moved slowly toward them. High Commander of the Dominion was giving a speech about the prosperity of the galaxy. His scales gleamed under the lights of the Great Assembly Hall. Thousands of delegates listened as he praised the cooperation between empires. "We have created paradise," declared. "Our combined might keeps peace in every sector. No threat can challenge our unity. The galaxy belongs to us, and it shall remain so for eternity." At that exact moment, every screen in the hall flickered. A human face appeared, old but with eyes that burned like dying stars. "You remember us," Wei said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "You took our world, you took our families, you took our future. You believed we were weak because we asked for peace. You thought kindness was the same as stupidity." Slammed his fist on the console. "Cut this transmission, find the source." "You cannot find what you refuse to see," Wei continued. "For 200 years we have watched you. We have learned from you. We have grown stronger than you could ever imagine. And now, we have come to teach you a lesson that the galaxy will never forget. Outside the planet, sensors across all 5 fleets suddenly screamed with alarms. The Vengeance! It appeared like a nightmare-given form. The ship was massive beyond comprehension. It dwarfed the largest dreadnought. Its hull was covered in weapons that crackled with strange energy. Its engines burned with a light that made stars look dim. Fleet Admiral of the Collective was the first to react. She ordered her hive ships to attack. 300 vessels surged toward the human ship, their organic cannons charging with deadly precision. The Vengeance did not move. A single beam of light erupted from its bow. The beam split into 300 smaller beams, each one finding a ship. In the space of a heartbeat, the entire fleet became dust floating in the void. Silence fell across every empire's command center. That was not revenge, Wei's voice echoed through the transmission. That was simply clearing the air. Now let us talk about the future. The general ordered his ships to scatter and flank the human vessel. His warriors were fearless. They had conquered 100 worlds. They would not be frightened by one ship, no matter how large. The Vengeance turned toward the fleet. Its hull opened in 1,000 places, revealing weapons that glowed with captured starlight. The barrage lasted 3 seconds. When it ended, the fleet existed only as scattered atoms. The king himself commanded his personal armada to retreat. His ships were the fastest in the galaxy. They could escape to the outer rim and regroup. They never made it to light speed. The Vengeance launched something that looked like silver seeds into space. These seeds grew, forming a net of pure energy that trapped every ship in place. The vessels hung frozen like insects in amber. Your people enjoyed hunting humans for sport, Wei said to the king. Your arenas are filled with human bones. Your trophy rooms display human skulls. Tell me, how does it feel to be the prey? The Alliance ships powered down their weapons and raised shields of surrender. They were merchants, not warriors. They understood when a deal had gone badly. Smart, Wei acknowledged. But do not think that makes you innocent. You traded in human flesh. You built your wealth on our suffering. You will pay a different price. High Commander finally found his voice. His scales had turned pale with fear, but his pride still burned. You cannot do this, he snarled. You are one ship. Even if you destroy our fleets here, billions of warriors wait in our home systems. We will hunt you across the galaxy. We will find your hidden bases. We will finish what we started 200 years ago. Wei smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. You misunderstand the situation, she said. The Vengeance is not alone. It is simply the first. Across the galaxy, in every sector controlled by the 5 empires, space itself seemed to tear open. Ships by the thousands. Human ships. Some were massive like the Vengeance. Others were small and fast like angry wasps. They appeared near slave colonies and mining operations. They appeared around military bases and government centers. They appeared everywhere. On Prime, the Imperial Palace looked up at a sky filled with human warships. On, the Hive Mother felt her mental connection to her species suddenly blocked by strange jamming signals. On, the Council of Generals found their weapon systems completely shut down by computer viruses they had never seen. On, the King's Palace was surrounded by human soldiers who had teleported through shields that should have been impossible to breach. On, the banks suddenly found their accounts frozen and their trade networks controlled by human hackers. 200 years, Wei said softly. You gave us 200 years to prepare. Did you really think we spent that time crying about our fate? We are human, we adapt, we overcome, we survive, and we never ever forget. The great assembly hall was silent. Every delegate stared at the screens showing the collapse of their military power. Everything they had built over centuries was crumbling in minutes. Now, Wei continued, we will discuss terms. Every human slave will be freed immediately. Every empire will provide ships to transport them to the new human territories. These territories will include Earth and the surrounding systems, which you will evacuate completely. Reparations will be paid to every human family that suffered under your rule, and most importantly, you will remember this day. High Commander stepped forward, his claws trembling. And if we refuse these terms? Wei leaned toward the camera. Then we will demonstrate what the Vengeance can do when it is not holding back. This ship carries enough power to crack planets. We have spent 2 centuries designing weapons specifically for each of your species. We know your weaknesses better than you know yourselves. So please, Commander, give us a reason to use them. Some of my crew have been waiting their entire lives for that excuse. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then, one by one, the delegates bowed their heads. The commander was the last to kneel, his pride finally broken under the weight of human vengeance. Wei watched them surrender and felt something she had not experienced in decades: satisfaction, but also sadness. Revenge did not bring back the dead. It did not erase the centuries of suffering. It only created a new beginning. "My people do not wish to rule the galaxy," she said finally. "We only wanted to live in peace. You us that once. Do not make the same mistake again. The next time humanity builds a fleet, it will not be to demand freedom. It will be to ensure that no species ever threatens another innocent civilization again." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, humanity emerged from the shadows. Slaves dropped their chains. Workers walked away from mines. Entertainers stepped out of arenas. For the first time in 200 years, they looked up at the stars and knew they were free. The 5 empires would spend generations recovering from this day. Their power would never be the same. Their arrogance had been shattered forever. And in the history books of every species, this day would be remembered with a simple phrase: the day humanity came home. Admiral Wei walked to the observation deck of the Vengeance and looked out at the blue planet she had never seen before. Earth, broken and empty but still beautiful. Her ancestors had been born here. Her descendants would rebuild here. Tears rolled down her weathered cheeks. "Mother," she whispered to the stars, "we made them pay. We made them all pay." The Vengeance hung in orbit above Earth, its mission complete but its purpose just beginning. Humanity had proven something that the galaxy would never forget. Kindness was not weakness. Patience was not surrender. And humans, above all else, never stopped fighting for their own. The stars belonged to everyone now, and anyone who disagreed would answer to the Vengeance.